Shalom, shalom, call halal Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushai by Shema Rakah Kadesh, Brakta Yahweh, Brakta Yahushai, Brakatham, to the Akim out there keeping his word truth in all sincerity, teaching the downfall of Esau, these 2/3, the heathens in this wicked kingdom. Actually, you know what, before I get into this, let me go ahead and pull up this scripture. Right here, give me 1 second. All right, so I'm going to pull up Isaiah 32:9. It says, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ears unto my speech." For all you women out there that are at ease, and you 2/3 well, you all 2/3 too, you know what I mean? But you women at ease, and you men that think that, these women that keep trying to protect these women, I'm going to show you that you can't, because right now, Yahweh Shem Shai is lifting up all these... He's lifting up all these curses and all these plagues and everything that's going on. And if you watch the news, more and more women are getting murdered and killed a day. And I mean, that's just not over here. That's all out throughout the world. These women are getting murdered. There's been super murders over in Africa. These Australian women, these farmers getting murdered. And not even just by the sword. You know what I mean? These women get murdered by fires, hail, drowning. You know what I mean? This is earthquakes. You women are dying at a high rate right now. STDs, you women are getting destroyed. Cervical cancer, HPV, all this stuff. It says, rise up, but you women want to be wicked out here shaking their stanky asses and doing everything else. But you know what? With that said, you want to be, like I said, you women want feminism. All right. You know what I mean? But like I said, you don't need a man. Like you said, you do not need a man to destroy yourself. You don't need a man to protect you, and you don't need a man to help you die. So you're doing that all on your own. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and show this video. And this is not the only part that I want to show. I want to go ahead and go into this World War III that's kicking off, because you see right here it says U.S. sends 750 troops to the Middle East following the attack on the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. So there was war starting off, rumors of war. And, Israel got something behind it. They doing something with it. And that's all biblical prophecy right there.
Alert, a 13-year-old boy allegedly involved in the killing of a college freshman due in court any moment. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, and this is the Daily Briefing. The 13-year-old suspect is charged in connection to the stabbing death of 18-year-old Bernard student Tessa Majors. About 3 weeks ago, police say the teen and at least 2 others were attempting to rob the student in a park near campus. They say she managed to stagger up some steps from the park before collapsing in a crosswalk. David Lee Miller is live outside the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. David Lee, what else are we expecting to learn from today's hearing?
The bottom line here, Dana, is we expect the defense to try and make a case that purported confession of the 13-year-old should be tossed out. Now, Fox News is not identifying the 13-year-old because he is being charged as a juvenile in family court. The teen's lawyer is likely to argue that the boy's uncle was present during the interrogation with police, but the boy was not represented by a lawyer. We might also hear more about defense claims that police berated and yelled at the teen. But the defense ultimately wants here not just the statement to be tossed out, but all the charges dropped. This teen now faces robbery, criminal possession of a weapon, as well as second-degree felony murder. That charge essentially means that the murder of Tessa Majors occurred during the commission of other felonies. The boys...
You know what doesn't make sense is they said he's getting charged with a murder weapon, or a weapon of with a weapon, right? Which a knife is, a knife. But you got these Amalekites running around with axes over there in New York and New Jersey, but they ain't being charged with nothing. He was charged with possession of a weapon. That don't make no sense.
Attorney maintains he was only a witness to what happened, and he should not be held legally responsible for her death. An attorney for the city acting as a prosecutor in the family court proceedings today says that the 13-year-old at some point picked up a knife that was dropped by one of his accomplices during this robbery that turned deadly. And as this hearing takes place, it should be underway any moment now, police, Dana, are awaiting the forensic results of a test that is being conducted that could lead to charges against a 14-year-old who they believe may have wielded the knife that resulted in the death of 18-year-old Tessa Majors. The hearing underway now. Back to you.
All right, David Lee Miller, thank you. Now to the growing tensions between the U.S. and Iran. The Pentagon sending hundreds of troops to the Middle East after an Iranian-backed militia tried to storm the U.S. embassy in Baghdad. The militia members have since pulled back. But Defense Secretary Mark Esper tells Fox News earlier today that President Trump has a plan, but he is not going to tip his hand.
He wants to make sure that our forces are well taken care of, that we're capable of accomplishing our mission on the ground. I'm not going to telegraph what we're going to do, but people know that we have vast capability to do any number of things. We will act in response to actions by Iran or its proxies, and we will act to preempt any attacks on our forces, our personnel, by Iran or its proxies.
Meanwhile, we are also getting a closer look at the extensive damage caused by the protesters when they broke into the compound and set fire to the reception area. We have this story covered from all angles. Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher, a Marine who served 2 tours in Iraq, he's standing by. But let's begin with Trey Yingst and Amman Jordan with a closer look at the Iranian-backed militia behind this latest violence. Trey.
Dana, good afternoon. A major development, as U.S. Defense Secretary Mark Esper told Fox News today, the United States is considering offensive action against Iran and its proxies in the Middle East, not just playing a defensive role, which was previously known. All of this as Iran and the United States both appear to be preparing for the possibility of a direct military confrontation. As we speak, there are hundreds of American troops headed to a U.S. base in Kuwait. Those troops from the 82nd Airborne Division. Their battalion also has thousands more soldiers on standby. The Iranians today continuing rhetoric of their own. A top commander in Iran's Revolutionary Guard said his country was not moving towards war, but isn't afraid of conflict. That commander adding Iran has the power to break America into several pieces. All of this after the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad came under siege for 2 days earlier this week. Iranian-backed militiamen and protesters destroyed many parts of the embassy, setting fire to other parts of the compound. All of this in response to a U.S. strike on Sunday that killed up to 25 Kataib Hezbollah members. This is an Iranian-backed Shia Iraqi militia that is operating across the Middle East. All of this as Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, said overnight that he is open to talks with the United States. But as it stands right now, the Trump administration says they are going to double down on their maximum pressure campaign. So another stalemate between the U.S. and Iran. Dana?
Trey, a couple of questions for you. One, the Prime Minister of Iraq, Prime Minister Mahdi, he pledged to move ahead with legislation that would get the United States to leave Iraq. And isn't that Iran's aim anyway?
It is, and all of this is being seen as a large win for the Iranians when it comes to the imagery, because you have to remember they're also fighting a parallel information war. So there's around 5,000 U.S. troops currently stationed in Iraq helping Iraqi security forces in the battle against ISIS. If all of this is successful for the Iranians, they will see American troops leave the region, specifically Iraq, and it will allow them to increase their foothold. They're already operating and funding and even weaponizing proxies across the Middle East in places like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and the Gaza Strip. So this would be just another win for the Iranian regime. While these U.S. sanctions do continue to cripple the Islamic Republic, they are trying to operate their influence in many other ways, using these proxies to threaten the United States, its troops, and its allies in the region. Dana?
Trey Yingst for us there in the Middle East. Thank you. Let's bring in Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee. The congressman is also a Marine who served 2 tours in Iraq as a commander of intelligence teams. You couldn't have had a better guest for today. Congressman, I wondered if maybe you could describe your experience with Iranians' influence in Iraq when you were there serving.
Well, I served mostly in the western part of Al-Anbar, where there wasn't as much Iranian influence, but certainly you talk to any of my Army brethren or anyone that's deployed around Baghdad or other parts of the country, the Iranians were responsible for enormous amounts of destruction. They have American blood on their hands. And let's not forget that this all started with Kataib Hezbollah, an Iranian proxy, a designated terrorist group killing an American and wounding 4 others. And I'm glad that President Trump took swift action to strike back. He was absolutely justified in doing so. And I also think he and Secretary Esper deserve enormous credit for rapidly reinforcing our diplomatic personnel who are doing a very dangerous job. And so Iran's influence has grown and grown in Iraq under the economic windfall they received under the JCPOA. Luckily, we have withdrawn from the deal, but we have a lot farther to go in terms of making sure they do not dominate Iraq's politics for the next few decades.
And the JCPOA, that was the Iranian nuclear deal that the Obama administration put forward, just in case that people don't remember that acronym. Speaking of Secretary Esper, let's listen to one more piece of that interview he had today on Newsroom, America's Newsroom here on Fox News, because he talked about the need to stand up to Iran. Watch.
We need to stand up to Iran, and we need them to behave like a normal country. That means ending their nuclear program, ending their long-range ballistic missile program, the stopping of hostage-taking, and, of course, their malign behavior where they are inspiring terrorist groups, resourcing and directing them all the way from Africa, across the Middle East, and into Afghanistan.
Congressman, any leader, when they speak, they have an internal audience and an external audience. The external audience, we know Iran has been having death to America threats for decades, but their internal audience, they have a restless population because of the economic pressure that they are under. What more do you think that the Trump administration and the Congress might be able to do to try to put the pressure on them to get to the point that Secretary Esper was talking about?
Well, first of all, Dana, you're 100% right. There have been protests of varying intensity within Iran for the better part of 2 years now. We've had legitimate Iraqi protesters in Tahrir Square since October protesting malign Iranian influence in Iraq. We also have protests in Lebanon right now, anti-Iran protests. This shows that Iran is in an increasingly weak position throughout the region and certainly domestically, where it is feeling a ton of economic pressure. So what do we have to do? One, let's stop waiving sanctions on Iran right now. We still have waivers in place for the Iraq nuclear facility in Iran. Two, we can continue the maximum pressure campaign with a corresponding military activity. We have to stay forward engaged in the region right now. We shouldn't hesitate to take people like Qasem Soleimani or Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis off the battlefield. And then three, diplomatically, we need to keep sending the signal that we stand with our allies in the region, and we certainly stand with the protesters who do not want to see Iraq or any other country in the Middle East dominated by the evil regime in Tehran.
One last question for you. So all Americans, I think, would agree at some point we'd like to see everybody be able to come home, right, and not have to be there. But do you think that we can get the Iraqis to be into a position where they can handle the possible resurgence of ISIS on their own?
I think it's going to require a small investment of U.S. troops and presence where we are in an overwatch role, where we are enabling Iraqi troops who are doing the majority of the fighting. And that's precisely the model we had with such success against ISIS. Remember, we're in Iraq at the invitation of the Iraqi government. We have had enormous success working with them. We risk squandering that success, or they risk squandering that success, if we leave precipitously. And that's the best way to gift the country to Iran. And that would not be in our interest over the long term.
Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So the year is just getting started, but Karl Rove already has some predictions about 2020. A road to picking a presidential nominee. It's not going to be easy. Rove writing in his Wall Street.
All right. That other shit don't matter. Yeah, but, yo, for you women that are at ease, prepare yourself because of the fact Trump signs, hold up. Hold up, let's see. All right. So, for you women that are at ease, you guys are about to be fucked. So, this just to let you know, because there's no more rumors of war. This is war. War's been going on. So now that they're over there in these other lands and going over there, and they're telling them, either you're going to do what we say or we gonna fuck you up. Which fuck means fornicating under the consent of the king. So that is not a curse word. This word, and for you women that, think just because you get married and you get a paper that says that you're a wife, all you're doing is fornicating under a consent of a king, because you guys are taking Trump in as your king. You know, you're taking the government as your king when marriage is actually sex. So just to let you know, what you're trying to do is not look like a thought or a hoe, but you still look like that either way. You know what I mean? If you're not submissive to your husband, you know, as you would Christ, you would, like he says, you a dog. And what is a dog? It is a bitch. A female dog is a bitch. I'm going to keep it just like that. And if you don't believe me, look it up. Google it. So it says, Trump administration wants to train teens in hazardous jobs. Nah, what they're doing is there's another one that they put out that says that they're going to go ahead and draft you women all the way down to the age of 17, and they're trying to do it to the age of 16. So you women that know that you bleed, you know you bleeding, you know you a woman according to scripture, you know what you're doing. So don't try to fake nothing and be like, oh, you innocent, because what's going to happen is when they come to draft you, they've already been watching your ass post all your videos of your body and everything online. So they know that your ass is capable of working out, because you're trying to get your body right to look good for these men, right? But what's going to happen is the Middle East wants them to send you women up over there, because they going to rape you. They going to capture you. They going to rape you. They going to rape you. And if they ain't raping you, the U.S. side guys are going to rape you. You're going to be bleeding on yourself while you in these trenches. And you have bullets over your head. And you think that these men going to protect you? They protect you just to get some coochie after that. They ain't going to protect you. It says, Trump administration wants to train teens in hazardous jobs. Draft documents detail Labor Department incentive to relax youth protection tied to apprenticeship expansion. Proposal would remove limits on 16 to 17-year-olds trained in dangerous conditions, which means that if they can do that, they're going to go ahead and they're going to draft you. And Trump already signed an order saying that they could draft. See? Look, boom, says right here. If you skip down, it says male immigration. It says 18 to 25. Man, hold on, let me find that. I want to find the document that says that they drafted it down to the age of 6 to 17 for you females. Just to let you know, y'all think y'all okay. You're not okay. You are not okay at all. It says it right there. It says current citizens who are as young as 17 years and 3 months. But they're talking about getting 17-year-old girls and drafting them in the war. So y'all prepare yourself. You know, yep, female draft registration 2019. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Salakia, give me a second, because they talking about drafting you women. Yep. Women may soon have to register for the draft. It's long overdue. That was March. I'm telling you, I seen one before. It said down to the age of 17. They talking about it. So you women are about to get snatched up. You think that you okay? Saying you don't need a man, and that's why it says you're gonna be saved in childbearing. And for you O negative women, woo, yeah, if you can't get that pill from the doctor, your ass ain't getting pregnant, because what's gonna happen is y'all gonna be running around, and you O negative women can only get pregnant by a O negative male like myself. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you need that stuff from the doctor to get pregnant. And if you're 16, 17 years old, they ain't gonna give you that. They ain't gonna give you the pill, even if your family sign off. They gonna know what you're doing. It says you're going to be saved in childbearing. And that means a bunch of stuff. That means while you're carrying the baby, you're going to be saved. And when you're delivering the baby, how wicked you were is that pain that he going to put up on you. See, you were supposed to go through pain, but y'all keep spinning your how about Shimmy Shai's face by getting these epidurals saying, nah, fuck you, how about Shimmy Shai. That's what you guys are saying. That's what you guys are saying. Like, oh, I ain't going to have this pain. I'm going to keep pushing out all these different babies by all these wicked heathens, these 2/3 niggas doing all this stuff and depending on Esau, the government, to give you your food stamps and everything else. When you should only